Hello everyone, my name is Jackson Kerr, and today I'm going to be talking about an old style of Italian theater called Commedia dell'arte. Now, Commedia dell'arte, or simply Commedia for short, is an old acting form originally from Italy. Despite the similarity to the word comedy, not all commedia plays were necessarily humorous. The actors would often cater to the taste of the audience, and because the form leaves a lot of room for improvisation, the actors might only have a general idea of how the play might go. There are writings which suggest that much of the material was written out too. Jokes that went over well one time would often be written down so that they could be used again. Uh, the style of acting seems to be very fluid and involves acting out a script, but with room for extensive improvisation as the actors see fit, either at specified points along the way or when the actors found a moment that worked well for them. Another characteristic of commedia is the use of masks to identify the various characters on stage. If you've ever seen a half mask covering the upper part of the face that someone has worn to a party or at a costume ball, the masks are very much like these, having different shapes, such as a large nose or big eyebrows or other things which designate these particular characters from each other. My method here is to go character by character so you can quickly identify the traits of these characters and see modern day examples of how they're used in film, in television, and in plays. I'll start with some terms which refer to more than one character and then move to specific character names. So, first, we have the Zanni, Zanni. Let's start with the most important, that's the Zanni, as I said. Zoni, from which we get the word zany in English, refers to the group of lower class characters in the plays and sketches. Zani is always very eager to please and would do most anything to help their masters, or his master. In many sketches or plays, Zani is entrusted with a very important item, such as a map or rings for a wedding or a key, and the audience watches how he loses it, misuses it, or gives it away and eventually finds a way to get it back in time. The next group of characters is the vecchi, or the old men, to put it simply. We have two characters which fit into this grouping, and oftentimes are seen paired together, either arguing or talking with each other or trying to make some kind of deal with each other, and they're often played side by side with each other. So, we'll talk about our first specific character, who is Arlecchino, the first masked character type Arlecchino, one of the Vecchi, from which we get the word Harlequin, from Arlecchino to Harlequin. To be clear, Arlecchino is a type of Zani character. If you've ever seen the Harlequin character on branding companies, I believe there's a brand of playing cards with Harlequin with the diamond patches and the mask. Companies often use it sometimes to identify their brand with the logo. You'll be familiar with the suit covered in colorful diamond shapes. Now, while the outfit may look snazzy, the original concept was much less so. In fact, the patches are meant to imply, perhaps, that this servant couldn't afford more than one set of clothing, so he simply patched it up with colorful patches of fabric. Arlecchino is a mischievous character and often works for his own gain rather than for the gain of his master or those he serves. A few of the most notable examples of Arlecchino in modern television are Manuel from Fawlty Towers. Oh, yes, yes, Mr. Fawlty, see, I do it. And Spongebob from the self-titled SpongeBob SquarePants series. Our next type is Pantalone. He is another one of the vecchi, or the old men, and he's a masked character, so he wears a mask. He's a merchant. He's very eager to get his hands on money and in almost any way possible. And he usually has his money bag or purse at his side, strapped right to his belt, from which he can quickly get to his wealth. The character is played bent over both at the back and at the knees, slouched as he's an old man. He's played against other characters with differing motivations than his own. Most of the time, his character question is consistent. Character question being, what drives the character forward? His character question being, what am I going to get out of this? That's how he thinks about things. A few examples of this character type can be found in television. Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants is a obvious one. He's always fixated on ways either to gain money or to pinch pennies. The second, and perhaps a less obvious choice, is Mr. Harriman from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, if you've seen that cartoon before. He's an older gentleman, or rabbit in this case, who's very frugal and keeps an eye on things as head of the house as he looks over things. Our next character of the old man, the Vecchi, is Il Dottore, which translates to the doctor. He is, as I mentioned earlier, an older gentleman, often played against or with Pantalone, so they play off each other. To be clear, though, Il Dottore, the doctor, is not a doctor of medicine, but a doctor of learning. Just as you can go to college and get your doctorate degree, or doctoral degree. In this way, doctor is used to denote that the character is a man of some extensive education, and yet he has no wisdom to make his knowledge useful. So when he is asked something, you might ask him, do you know what the weather's going to be like today? He says, oh, yes, weather, I know about that. Let me see, there was a storm back in 1564. You're like, no, can you tell me about the weather? Oh, the weather. Well, weather is a word we often use to, and he'll go on and on and on, and that's, how his character is often played. Examples of Il Dottore can be found in film and television and theater. I once played a character in a show who fit this archetype to a T. There's an opera titled Signor Deluso by Thomas Passettieri from the 1970s. The plot involves misunderstandings between lovers. At one point, when the lead character believes he has reason to go to the magistrate, who's a kind of sheriff, he comes out tailing the magistrate, who walks ahead talking about how much he loves the law. The magistrate then parades around the stage and out without helping the guy at all. And so in this way, he fits the type to a T. He talks and talks and talks about how much he loves the law, but he doesn't do anything with his knowledge of the law. Another example, again from SpongeBob SquarePants, is Squidward. Now, Squidward is intelligent, but he's often misunderstood because of his choice of unnecessarily long words or his reference to things which his neighbors don't understand. His love of art and knowledge of music don't help his social interactions, which he often finds himself in, these awkward interactions. The lack of understanding around him is key because it exasperates him to no end and confuses his neighbors and friends, who kind of shrug off his exasperation and find something else to do. A great example of this is found in the Christmas episode of SpongeBob, where Squidward is asked what he wants for Christmas, and he replies with a zinger. My wish is that the people of Bikini Bottom would stop paying attention to the inane dribble that is constantly streaming out of this dunderhead's mouth. It's quite a mouthful. In classic response to this, SpongeBob stands for about 2 seconds and replies, gee, Squidward, maybe Santa will bring me a dictionary so I can understand what you just said. And SpongeBob goes right back to directing his neighbors to set up for the celebration. This exchange encapsulates the relationship between the Zanni and Il Dottore. Il Dottore will come in and speak for a minute or two before the Zanni replies with a gag or a joke showing he doesn't comprehend what has been told to him. Or the Zanni is entrusted with something important, and he immediately either misplaces it or misuses it or passes it off to someone else. There are 1,001 ways that this interaction between the two can be interesting. Another example of Il Dottore comes from The Elixir of Love, an opera by Donizetti. In Italian, the title is L'Elixir d'Amore. A traveling salesman, Dr. Dolcamara, visits a village and with many words declares that he has treatments and ointments and medicine to cure all your aches, pains, indigestion, heart sickness, ill-tempered neighbors. Any need you have, he says, can be filled by his products. The desperate young lover, Nemorino, comes to him and tells him that he has heard of a love potion, and doesn't the doctor have any of this? The doctor then proceeds to sell him some cheap alcohol and tell him to keep it quiet since it's bootleg. Now he's made a profit off the young man without loss to himself. Again, very characteristic of the Doctor seeking to gain something for himself, and in this case, he is a very verbose character, talking about all lists and lists of all the different things he's done, places he's been, things that he's helped people with. Fits it to a T. Our next character is Il Capitano, the captain, which references a man in the military. There's a scene in Passatieri's aforementioned Signor Deluso, which is a fantastic demonstration of several archetypes, including the captain. Signor Deluso has heard rumors about his wife and is now thinking of challenging a young man to combat for his honor. Now, understand that the type of Il Capitano is usually a military man. He's a foreigner. He's visiting the town. And oftentimes he gets himself into situations where, he would be in for a fight, but he doesn't have the tenacity to follow through with the fight. So in this case, we have Signor Deluso in this opera going to challenge a man for his honor. Now, the two young lovers, separate from him, are engaged now in a very deep discussion about what's happened in the past 20 minutes of the show. The stage directions say, quote, Signor Deluso enters armed to the teeth. Leon's back is to him. Leon is the other man contender. Leon's back is to him, and Deluso is scared. Now, first, this is a fantastic setup for a scene. Any operatic character looking to exact revenge for a loved one would not waste time in taking the opportunity to act. And yet, as the lovers Leon and Silly talk, Deluso stands well back, talking about how it will be a fight to the finish, and how his knees are shaking. Now, part of the comedy which comes from this is that usurps what would usually be an important scene in any film, television show, or play as the lovers have their quarrel. And yet, this is underscored with the worries of a man who is trying to find the courage to avenge his honor. So, I think that's a fantastic scene and a very good use of humor there. Now we come to the Innamorati. The Innamorati, or the lovers, are a pair of young people who are desperately in love with each other and seeking to find some way either to get married or run away with each other. If the arranged marriage plot device is used, as it often is, oftentimes the young woman is forcibly engaged to be married to one of the old men, either the Doctor or Pantalone, and she's seeking to escape from the arranged marriage. They're given different names depending on the show, these two lovers, and though they're stock characters like the rest, they do not wear masks. However, when acting on stage, the Innamorati, these lovers, act as though the Zanni, Il Vecchio, all the others are not wearing masks. So whether the character wears a mask or not, they all treat the other equal. They don't act as if, oh wait, hey, what are you wearing a mask for? It's just understood that this is a part of the character. Now the question is, with the Innamorati, these desperate lovers, where don't you see them in our culture today? They're in most Disney films. I could mention Tangled, Cinderella, The Little Mermaid. Anytime you see two young lovers in a show, animated show, film, it very well matches this set. Okay, and we come to the last one, Columbina. Now, Columbina translates to Little Dove, and she's another of the unmasked servant characters. She's a very intelligent person. Her role is usually that of the, as I said, intelligent and grounded person so that she can quickly solve misunderstandings between the other characters. Being outspoken, she's never shy about speaking her mind. This provides the audience with a kind of running commentary on the situation. While some characters may have a costume change at some point during the show, Columbina is a character who will often change costumes to suit her purposes, so several times through the show, whether to follow after someone she knows unnoticed or to cause mischief. It could be for any number of reasons. If we look to the opera Signor Deluso again, we find the same stock character of Columbina in the observant Rosine. Rosine is the character's name. As the play goes on and the lovers are all nearly ready to fight with each other, our Rosine, or Columbina type, steps in and sensibly sorts things out. With a few questions to the lovers, she helps them understand their misunderstandings and set things right. She helps them see that, oh, she doesn't really love someone else. It's a, I misheard something. Um, and, she straightened things out in the end. So, commedia is an art form from which we draw many ideas about storytelling, humor, improvisation, and stock characters. From my research, I understand that some of these actors who played in these shows would play the same character maybe for years, and they developed them as they went. They would take jokes and ideas that worked well on some night, and they write them down and keep them, and those that don't were left out and replaced with new ones. So I hope this gives you insight into this art form and how it has shaped societies and entertainment over the years. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have questions or ideas, please comment below and hit the subscribe button so that you can know when I post more videos. Thank you.